isn't it,
That's
Dave?
nice. Yeah, everybody's ahead of the game. And yes, I have turned on my do not disturb for tonight. So if my good mate Jeff rings, I can't answer it because I won't know. Nice to see the usual suspects in already, gentlemen. Good evening. Nice to see you all. There's no Jennifer this evening. She's away having the blood test done down in Padiham. So if anybody wants to play moderator, if you get any tripe like we had last week or week before with all the Aloe Akbars and things like that and all that kind of shite, please just block and report. It's fine. But Jennifer will be back later. Oh, Jesus, that's gone bright. I've got my monitor behind my phone. That's gone really bright. Mate, how are you? It's nice to see you.
I am good, Dave. I've been... unfortunately, I couldn't make Oulton in the flesh because I was on duty. The downside of the job that I love, that consumes my life for the last 28 years. But I watched everything that was available. Luckily, I caught the Bowl d'Or. Are we going to be talking about that?
We can a little bit. We can touch on that a little bit.
Riders.
Podcast make you faster.
It's good to be back, man. It's good to be back. You've been a busy man. Bell staff interviews, rider interviews, like top podcasting. Like you said, podcasting make you faster.
Yeah, no, it's been good. It was a good weekend. I really enjoyed it. We had Kyle ride on Thursday for an hour. I've just finished editing that today. It was literally just exported in the background, which is why all of a sudden my big screen's gone white because it's finished doing what it's doing. That's a brilliant chat. I was so pleased. There's a marked difference between the Kyle ride of Cadwell Park last year and the Kyle ride of Alton Park this year. A bit like with Tommy when we spoke to him at Brands last year and Knockhill this year. There's a different air about Kyle ride, and we'll come on to his weekend and how he approached the weekend and what he did. And yeah, I got in the lovely people from Bell staff got in touch and said, if you've got nothing better to do, would you like to sit down with Davey Todd for half an hour in front of the Checkers bar and just chat to him for a bit? And absolutely fabulous. Yeah, it was a good weekend. We missed you, mate. We missed you.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's weird. It's sort of because I've been part of the paddock properly for the last 2 years. I felt like FOMO, but also you realize how much bikes mean to you when you've been away. Because I was away for a good 20-odd years, and to come back, it just fills you full of love. Do you mean? It's like, but the good thing about watching it on TV is you get a different perspective, don't you? You mean? Yeah. It's like when you're watching on circuit, you get the sound, you get the smell, you just get that whole vibe. But when you're seeing the race unfold or defold for some of the riders, and
good
then
word.
Then you get to see some of the mistakes or the moves or they're riding on the edge, and 100%. A lot of riders were doing that this round. Do you mean this round was unbelievable?
100%. You see a lot more on the telly than you do stood at Druids as we were on Saturday. And then where were we on Saturday? Cascades. We watched from Cascades on Saturday because you can see the big screen. And we had a couple of great friends across from the village doing their first time at BSB. Actually, they'd never. One of them had been to touring cars before, and to Andy, he'd been to Alton Park for touring cars, and Phil had never been to British Superbikes at all. So it was so cool to see somebody experiencing BSB for the first time. Exactly what you said is the feeling that we get. We don't lose it. It doesn't become blasé about it. We're really lucky to do what we do, but you kind of get used to it a little bit. It's not lost on us, but to see somebody experience it for the first time was so cool, and they absolutely loved their day.
Hi, Dave. Sorry, I just said Dave said hi. Dave Greenslade.
Oh, Dave Greenslade.
Yeah. So the showdown points have ramped up. Everything's just gone mental. You always say this, don't you? That this is where we are. You say round about Snetterton, things start to get real. And then you've got your Thruxton, which is just one of those tracks which is weird. No one ever tests there. It's very unique. Throws up some weird and wonderful results. And then we get to the nitty-gritty.
And then people are just really fortunate and happy to get away from Cadwell Park in one piece.
Cadwell. Talking about surviving, I've just been on social media and seeing how high Josh Brooks went on his crash.
At Druids. Yeah, that was a big one.
Man. He flew. He was like Superman. But yeah, so how would you rate this round? I mean...
It was a solid 8.5, wasn't it?
Oh, totally, man. I was just
a solid 8.5. So just looking through the comments, just quickly. Tomo's dropped in. He said, "You do get used to it and you do take it for granted, but boy, do you miss it when you're not there." So when you've worked with Leon Haslam and you've won the British Superbike Championship in 2018 and worked with a raft of other riders at the TT and different places, and then all of a sudden you're not there. Tomo, we miss you, mate. We miss seeing you there. Come back and visit sometime. Great man, Tomo. Love Tomo. Simon Green, good evening, mate. Dark Wolf of Odin, good evening. Sorry, mate, carry on.
That was a really good segue into one of the controversial moves. Glenn Irwin, last lap on Haslam.
Right.
That was
God,
this is a talking point, do you mean?
No, 100% is a talking point. The great thing about it being a talking point is, and this is something I guess we'll talk about. I know there's a lot of people in the comments that are members of the BSB forum on on Facebook. The potential cesspit of what is the BSB forum on cesspit, beautifully run by Simon Kefford, but some of the comments that come up are just ridiculous. And I think I missed it because we were traveling back to Jen's mum and dad's at the time, so I was only listening, I think, on the radio for that one. Was that race 2 or race 3? I can't remember. They've got to be race.
Hang on, I'll have a look. What race did he win?
Race 2.
Yes.
2 race 2, wasn't it? That's right. And you hear it, and yeah, I was listening to it on the radio as we were driving back up, and then to see the comments that Glenn then put back on social media later because of the stick that he'd had, is people jumping on the bandwagon straight away. And for Leon being the gentleman that he is, he knows he's put some tough moves on people in the past. He's been toughed and he's toughed. But he just came out and admitted it. Apparently on the slowdown lap, they even said what they could do was what he did was lock the front.
Yeah.
I think on the slowdown lap, he sort of mimed the fact of locking the front on the way in. So just that cesspit, that anything to have a go at Glenn Irwin or vice versa, Tommy Bridewell. It's honestly. Sometimes you've got to chuckle, but I mean, it gets the sport coverage. It gets people talking about our beloved sport. So, wrong, or indifferent.
I agree. I mean, I would rate it around about 8.5 as well. I think because every class was tight. It threw up the weather threw up all the challenges and the variables.
100%.
You know what I mean? And it's like reading through social media today from the riders. You know, like. The riders at the back of the grid took a gamble on either slicks or intermediates, and it didn't pay off. And then you've got people who are trying to get back in the championship, like Christian Iden. He made a wrong choice, lucky to get away with it in one of the races, not on another race. I'm gutted for him. I'm like, he's I don't know.
So near yet so far.
You don't want to see a title decided by crashes. You want to go right. You want to see them. Like gloves off, face toe to toe, don't you? You know what I mean? And at the moment, it's becoming a possibly 3-horse race. Do you mean? And it's like,
yeah, I mean, certainly Glenn's not out of it. That's for sure. He's 45 back on Tommy and 39 back on Kyle, and that win did him the power of good. I know there's some controversial comments he made after race 1. With the SC0 tyre that the Ducati is struggling, that they've been penalised, and basically calling out the organisers and the rule makers for penalising the Ducatis and the BMWs while the Hondas and the Yamahas are all right with it. He's very much in that zone of the tyre is the problem. And who are we to argue? Christians make it. There are 44 points between them in 3rd and 4th. So it's a tricky one. I would have loved to have seen them bring the X back for the last 3 rounds. If you're going to make it a showdown, balls to it. Just bring the X back as well. If it's going to bring Glenn closer into the title fight, if the X doesn't hamper the Honda or the Yamaha, so you could bring them back. And Yeah. It's a tricky one, mate. Glenn's really upset with the way the tire's gone this year because he still could be a contender. He still is, kind of.
Yeah.
But, you know, Kyle's still on that crest of a wave. There's another DNF for Tommy at the end of the end of the first lap of race one, or the end of the second lap. And you're just like, man, full fuel load, end of the forks, just tucking it into the one place where you're going to lose the front, and many did over the weekend, down into Hizzies.
It's weird. I was watching it, and when he did it, I stood up and went, no! I was just me in the living room myself, and I sat down and went, okay, I mean, but I just thought, man, that's like how do you come back from that on the first race on the Saturday, and you know you've got another 2 races and the pressure's on you? And for me, Tommy's just the consummate professional, you know, to do as well as he did in those conditions. But you've touched on it there. The young man who's in second place, 6 points behind him, is riding like a champion elect, you know, and
100%.
wow. You know what I mean?
100%. Cadwell, for me, I thought was brilliant. And I would say, just people have seen Tomo's comment through, from a man who knows racing far better than I ever will. You know what tyres you've got, so you need to work harder to get the bike to work on the said tyre instead of just moaning. It's right. It's
also,
right.
Let's look at the facts, Dave. I'm just looking down. Okay, so there's 2 Ducatis on the grid.
Yeah.
Fourth, a third
and fourth in the championship.
So if it doesn't work, what happens to the Yamaha, the Honda, the BMW, the Kawasaki? You know what I mean?
Your first BMW's 8th.
He wasn't saying that when he got his triple at the first round at Oulton. No. Then he got the triple. You know, you can't have everything.
Can't have it always.
Times.
Do you know what I mean? The man's got 7 wins. He's got the joint most amount of wins in the championship, along with Ryan Vickers on 7. So, you know, he's bigger picture. He's not doing all that bad, is he? No. In the grand scheme of things. But Kyle's consistency of finishing top 4, top 5, apart from the wet race on yesterday, the race 2 yesterday, I think he faded to 13th, I think, and it just wasn't the right thing. It was so wet. There was standing water everywhere, and it was, you know, he who dares wins, Rodney. It was one of those where he just wasn't comfortable in the wet. It was as simple as that. But then he fought back well for race 3, which was, you know, you got to feel for Storm Stacy a little bit in that, but I'm sure we'll come to that in a point. But going back to Kyle, sitting with him on Thursday, he's super relaxed. He's got a little bit of confidence about him. He's in that same zone that Brad Ray was in back in 2022, where he's got the confidence in the bike, he's got the confidence in the people around him. But the most important thing that Kyle Ryde has now is that he believes in himself. Cadwell race 3 and that whole weekend on a circuit that he doesn't enjoy, as we spoke about it afterwards, that proved to him that he could do it. So then to go out to his other circuit, the other circuit that he's never won on, he stood on the podium at Alton Park a few times, but he's never won there. So to go out in the race on Saturday afternoon and stick it on the top of the box, it's like the ducks are all in a row. Losing Tommy at Knickerbrook didn't help his cause anyway, but it helped Kyle's. And then it swung back for race 2 and then swung back for race 3. It's just been a whole pendulum of a weekend.
It was amazing. I just saw Woody there. Both Tommy and Kyle put on championship winning rides. You're right. You mean, and it's going to come down to the best man. They are both riding. I mean, Tommy is doing things on that Honda that hasn't been done for years. You know, like you said, no one's ever won back-to-back on different manufacturers. So Kyle, young, up-and-coming, talented. You've talked about the group that he's ridden with, where he's come from. You know what I mean? It's like, wow. It's exciting. And then, like I said, Glenn on that Ducati is beautiful. I have to say, oh, man, it's just... I've got a soft spot for the Ducatis, but
I much prefer it with the silver rear wheel when they've got that in. It looks so much cooler.
It looks sick, as they say, the young ones say.
I'm not saying that.
Yeah, but I mean, when Christian crashed and it nearly pushed Glenn off the track, he fought tooth and nail. I mean, that bike was throwing shapes, and he he made it do stuff. So it's like, in one sense, the tire's knackered, or he says it is, but he can turn it on. I guess that, I mean, the conditions, it's a wet tire rather than versus a dry tire or intermediate, but he's still got talent, man.
Look at if you get a chance to watch it back or watch it at Donington as well. I noticed it at Cadwell. I noticed it at Alton Park. Glenn's body language of forcing that Ducati to make it do what he wants it to do. He's not comfortable as Tommy and maybe Kyle are with theirs, because they can point where it wants, it turns, it goes. They can turn it on a sixpence, they can stop it on a dime, they can do everything they need to do to win races. But for Glenn, his body language is all over the place, and he's so animated as he's riding it, which it's the Glenn way, but it just seems magnified this year because of the difficulties that he's got with the SC0 and making it work.
Yeah, it's weird. I just hope that he gets his head. I listened to his after race when he won, and he was just talking about resilience and strength and mental strength, and he's talked himself into the race, and he's believing. And you have to, don't you? You have to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in, you've interviewed him, and I've interviewed him as well, and he 100% believes.
No, he's an unshakable self-confidence,
man.
Which that'll lead us on to Ryan Vickers later. But he's got unshakable self-confidence in his ability and where he is in the championship. He knows he's a big fish in that pond. He knows he's got championship ability. He knows he's got race winning ability. And we said this before at this round last year. And again, this is like the fourth year in succession that Alton Park's thrown up some kind of championship drama, especially Tommy crashing in that first race. He hadn't had a DNF since race 2 at Navarra when the gear shift broke.
Yep.
So his consistency has been incredible, but he's only had 2 wins, but he's had 10 second places. So he's in that zone where he will take the points. You look at Glenn, he's had 7 wins, 1 second, and no thirds. So he's been there or he hasn't been, whereas Tommy with 14 podiums, it's nearly double what Glenn's had. And there's your difference. That consistency is starting to shine through. But no, Glenn wakes up in the morning and, you know, I can't, there's that phrase that's from a movie and somebody will pop it up in the comments. You know, I wake up in the morning, look in the mirror, and I just ooze confidence. It's something along that. It's not that, but it's kind of along those lines. And he has his ways of meditation and his self-improvement, and which we saw kind of drop a little bit at Alton Park last year. But having said that, he's the same now. He's playing thankful first, forgiveness, thankfulness and mindfulness and all the other fullnesses that he does. He's kind of there.
Yeah, it is.
Piss excellence. That's the one, Woody. Thank you. I knew somebody would come up with it. I wake up in the morning and I piss excellence. Thanks, Woody.
I love it. So, I mean, let's talk about, well, we normally do winners and losers later on, or so winners and not so winners. So you talk about Ryan Vickers. I mean, looking down there, 7 wins. You're thinking, why the hell is he 127 points behind? Because he keeps throwing it at the scenery. Why is
because
that?
Why? Because you look at the in the last 6 races, he's had 3 DNFs. The first one because of the electrical fault, the third one because of turn 1 at Cadwell, and the second one because of the first turn at Cadwell, and the third one because he didn't stop in time at Lodge. Again, in that third race, he looked, he had the speed. He's always had the speed. And then he goes and does it again. And for the reasons why, we don't know. But what from the camera angle that we saw that was at the top of Deer Leap, he just carried straight on. So he was still upright.
Yeah.
And I guess he'd missed his braking marker because he I think he had like a second lead on Kyle or something like that. He was basically checking out. And then you heard the crowd and you heard the of the gravel. And that was it. That was game over again, and championship over as well. That's the thing. The championship's over. Tomo's got a point. You win championships on your bad days. Everyone's good day is a win, but collecting points on a bad day wins you championships. I had that exact conversation with Kyle about Knockhill back in the summer when he had. Do you remember he had the illness?
Yep.
And he went out and he scored as he peers around the corner. He scored 3 points in the 2 races on the Sunday afternoon. How important are they going to be come the end of the season?
I'm just having a look.
That was Knockhill. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he got 1 point for the last race, 2 points, and then 12 points. So that's
12 points on the Saturday.
Scrapping is like, what?
Yeah. If he loses, if he lost the title by 3 points, then you're going to think that's the one you'll point it back to. So, yeah, it's a fascinating way that this championship is working out. And for Tommy to have that DNF was completely unusual. Nobody saw that coming. He's been the model of consistency. That's why he's only got 2 wins, but he's leading the championship by 6 points. So it's all in there.
There was something telling. He gave an interview and he said, I'm changing the way I look at this weekend, coming into this weekend. And I'm thinking, that's never a good sign when someone changes a model that's working. And then they go, I'm just, and maybe that was, he went, oh, shit. Took my eye off the ball there. I'm going to go back to how Tommy was thinking and behaving and working through the weekend, because you've worked with a championship winning team. You know what it takes. It's the little things. It's the routine. It's you can't change stuff, can you?
Don't change a thing.
Yeah,
Brad never changed a thing in his whole season. Even getting into the showdown time, he never changed anything. Just apply the same things every weekend. Why change it?
Yeah.
And that's where and obviously he's got a little bit on his mind with Cremona this weekend, which links us beautifully, just very slightly segue sideways into World Superbike. Good evening, Greg Haynes TV. Listening from the car on the French-Spanish border, driving back from the Bol d'Or. Thank you, Greg. Safe travels, mate. Glad to have you with us.
Is that the same Greg Haynes that you did your podcast on that got like rave reviews?
Yeah, absolutely. On our kitchen table. This is actually Greg Haynes's back bedroom. This is when Greg comes to stay with us. This is now christened as Greg's room. So we have to podcast from Greg's room. Can I just
say, I had a fanboy moment at Portimao. I saw Greg in the airport, and one of those moments where I went and I bottled it. I couldn't go up and say hi and admire what you do. I just walked past. So I was like, hi, Greg. He's listening all the way from Bol d'Or. Oh, talking about Bol d'Or. Come on, man.
Great fella. Love him dearly. And Tomo, yes, if you change things, you'll probably change the result. Absolutely true. Go Bol d'Or. Yeah.
Segue in, man.
Do it. We'll just cover this one off while we're talking about the Bol d'Or. Congratulations, Dan Linfoot, world champion.
Yep, that was amazing, wasn't it? He was so cool as well. Do you mean?
What a point. See, what a difference 11 months makes.
Totally. After losing the Superstock Championship to that stupid ruling, you know what I mean? That's like and to come back and he will always be a world champion.
Absolutely.
That's so
cool.
No
question. Nobody's going to take that away from him. It's like Danny Kent. Nobody's going to take that 2015 Moto3 crown away from him. Absolutely not.
Totally. And then
any championship is well earned. Tom will tell you that.
And then the DC shod bike, which Wardy was part of.
What a guy. Wardy and Tom Oliver and their teammate. Yeah, third in the Superstock class. Was they third overall or third in the Superstock class?
Third in the Superstock class.
That's right. I thought so. Yeah. I didn't get a chance to see it over the weekend. So I figured it was third in the Superstock. With a podium in the Superstock class. Bloody brilliant for a little team with 2 really class riders on it. And the third one, whose name I forget. Is it Greg Black? No, he's with Linney, isn't he?
Yeah, he was with Linney, yeah.
He's with Linney.
So someone help me out, because he sounds as English as out, Greg Black, but he was classed as French.
Greg Black is French.
Okay.
Yeah.
It said that he was English, but I was like a bit confused. I knew you would know.
I'm sure Greg Black's French. Oh, he certainly rides under the French banner. Yeah, absolutely he does. Yeah, no question. Brilliant for Wardy after being on the show last week. Absolutely class. I'd love to see him get a ride in the British Superbike Championship next year if he wants it. And he's definitely got the talent. He's definitely got the application for it. But we'll see. I don't know. It would be lovely to have him in the championship full time. I think there's a lot of movements and things going around, and there's a lot of whys and wherefores, and do you mind if I don't come in from over the weekend? And there's lots of rumours and conjecture, and silly season is well underway, which I know is what a lot of people have tuned in for.
It is. I suppose we can start talking about it now. But while we're on the subject of the European ride, so you've got Tommy riding in, is it Italy?
Yeah, he's going to Cremona this weekend. I think the trucks went today. And then the riders and team will fly out Tuesday, Wednesday to get everything set up. So that's going to be cool to watch.
So again, I'm just thinking, is this not putting his championship at jeopardy because it's so close? Like the OMG boys are both going out to the final round in Jerez.
But that's after the end of season party.
Yeah. I get that. That's cool. You mean you go, if you crash, you crash. If you win, you win. If you get point, but not when you've got 2 rounds, 3 races left to be the only rider to win back-to-back championships. It's like, am I?
Well, just a quick one. There's your answer to Greg Black. Anyway.
Okay.
Thank you to Scotland's finest, Mike Anderson.
Thank you, Mike.
Coffee with him yesterday. Lovely fella. There's a school of thought that says they should be wrapping Tommy up in cotton wool. There's a school of thought that said they've got to take the opportunity while they can because you don't know where it's going to lead to. They didn't have the opportunity to do one at Donington, and I believe it might be contractual for Tommy that he can do a World Superbike ride. So they've got to do one at some point. And they've tested at Cremona, as we know. They've run the BSB bike round there. They got a bit of setup for it, so they're not going in particularly blind. It's a decent place to go. Whereas going to Jerez, they're going to go in blind. So if he can get into the points, that would be incredible. I don't see him beating Lecuona and Vierge, but if Tommy can finish on the points, it would be absolute class. But let's see. Let's see.
I'm looking forward to it.
While we're on, I've just seen one come up. If anybody's out there who fancies doing a little bit of moderating while you're watching, if we get any spam comments and things like that, like the one that's just popped up, please can you block and report? Would you be so kind? Because Jennifer's, as I say, she's out having a blood test in Padiham, so she's not moderating as she usually is. So if anybody could do that, thank you. But in terms of Honda, I was trying to get hold of Javier Beltran over the weekend to sit down and have a chat with him ahead of Cremona, because it would have been nice to put that out on Wednesday and speak ahead of the weekend to give people a full insight into what's going on and how they ended up doing what they do, which is why we only ended up with Kyle, unfortunately, from the weekends, and it was too late to get anybody else into the fold. But it was worth the try. We sat down with Harv on Friday afternoon, and he explained kind of what was going on. At this point, that's not something that I can share, but he explained why he didn't want to come on, because it would pose extra questions that he didn't want to ask. Not me throwing him under the bus, but where they are at the moment in the grand scheme of things with the plans and whatever the future holds for Honda Racing UK, then it would put him in a fairly compromising position. Thank you, Dark Wolf, for voting. Appreciate that, mate. So we've since agreed that we will go over to Louth beginning of November, and he will be able then to let us know everything. Thanks, Maggie. Will let us know what's going on a little bit more, rather than, so Harv, why is this happening? And then we're going like, it's not fair on our listeners and viewers, because we won't be able to get the full story. But we hung on and we tried our best, but it wasn't to be. But yeah, it's going to be fascinating. What's your take on it?
I don't know, because I really want him to win. I don't want anything silly to happen in Cremona. I don't want him just to ride round as well, because we know Tommy is a class rider. Is he going to be riding a bike with all the WSB electronics, which we know that Brad Ray hasn't got on with? We know that Taron hasn't really got on with. Is that going to mess up his head? Because if you look at the Honda rider that went to MotoGP last year and just jumped between the 2 rounds, Lecuona?
Yeah.
You know, every time he came back, he was way slower than his teammate, and he was like the leader because he's having to adjust to a different riding style, different bike, different engine characteristics. I think at this stage of the season, personally, from what we've seen in our experience, it's probably the wrong thing. If he's riding his BSB spec bike and he's just riding round, is that going to be good for his confidence? Is he going to be at the back of the field? Are people then going to say he's a has-been? That's all those ifs and buts.
There's a huge amount of ifs and buts and maybes about it.
Yeah, man.
If they didn't think it was worthwhile, they wouldn't be doing it, is the way that I look at it. And that's not from half. That's just my own personal view. They're better doing this one than, as I say, one they hadn't been to. And yeah, to run at World Superbikes, you have to run the same electronics, because the Motec the bike will just not be competitive. Okay. So trying to do that and trying to understand the World Superbike electronics, which I do believe he's ridden a bike with World Superbike electronics recently.
Would that be at Cadwell Park?
I believe that was at Cadwell Park, because somebody posted the picture on the Tuesday. I don't know if we mentioned it or not. It might have been after the show, but he was definitely riding a Honda Fireblade that had World Superbike clothes on. And there's all sorts of things. There's different swing arms, there's linkages, there's all sorts of things. But I suspect it's a BSB bike with World Superbike electronics on it. And it doesn't distract him too much. He's ridden BSB for too long for one round at Cremona to upset his rhythm with the Motec electronics back here. So I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, he's got all his mates out there, aren't they? So it's just going to be like a reunion of all the British riders catching up and having a ball. And I genuinely hope he's competitive, because it shows the level of BSB, doesn't it?
Yeah, to see Tommy's level there would be, it's going to be really fascinating. And to see how he progresses through the weekend, step by step by step. He's not going to put himself in any uncompromising positions. He's not one to make rash passes, as we know. So I think he will just go about his business, do what he has to do. It is a distraction. Whether it's unnecessary or not, Dave, that's that remains to be seen, doesn't it? But it's certainly taking his mind off Donington Park and keeping him active. Whereas young Kyle will just be spoiling a good walk, playing thwack fuck.
That is.
Have you ever played that?
Mate, it's a stupid sport, man. Why would you? It's the most frustrating thing. Fuck.
Yeah. Sorry for the language. Sorry, Maggie.
So we've touched on Boldor. We've touched on the races abroad. A few other riders that stood out. It was, you have to say it, poor LKQR Kawasaki team, man. It's like
Storm.
Brent Gladwin. You could just see, we're not again.
It's like that was just unlucky. That was just completely unlucky. Bad timing, and there were. I think I don't know, with the way that the schedule was going anyway. I think Stuart would have loved to have tried to carry on that race for one more lap if the mud wasn't as far across the track as it was. As they said right at the start of the day, rider safety is a priority. Yeah. And the amount of crud that poor Lewis Rollo chucked onto the track, right into the braking area, into Knickerbrook. You watch Kyle go past, you watch Glenn go past. They could see it. They moved to the right and they missed it. Poor old Fraser Rogers, right on the stops going through it. Nothing he could do. Crink, down he went. And as soon as that happened, Stuart hit the red flag. And there's nothing you could do about it. He was just unfortunate, whether Storm had a 16-second lead or a 6-second lead. I felt for the kid. He's done it again in the wet weather. What a boy. Fair play to him.
It was just one other rider that stood out was Richard Kerr was having an amazing ride as well. He's just jumped up, hasn't he? So you've got all these. This is what I love about the Bennett Spricker Superbike with the weather at this time of year. It just, when these riders have nothing to lose. And where's Josh Brooks been all year? Where has he been? All of a sudden,
battling the SC0.
Okay, same tyre. He was leading for race
I agree.
For a bit. It's like, hang on a minute.
It was good to see him back at the sharp end. Did he qualify? Did he qualify second?
Yes,
Yeah, he did. He qualified second, yeah.
Yeah, and then he was in that lead, and then he got nerfed by the other guys, but that's racing. There was a racing incident. But you've touched on this before as well, and it's like you put a rider's contract or take it away, they show what they've got. Why don't they do that? Why didn't it do that at Oulton earlier on in the year? I take it we're trying to figure out. I don't know. It's just...
God, that's a brave call. If their contract rides, that's a brave call. I like that, mate.
It's a fair point, but it's like...
Look at you getting all brave.
I'll be retracting it in a minute. I'll be shitting myself. But it's like, wow, we know he's a talented rider. He's a two-time champion, so there's no doubt, but how come he's not been able to do it? And do we know where he's going? And
no.
Who's replacing him?
Not at this point. Not at this point. We'll come on to Joe Talbot shortly, actually. Woodsky, thank you very much. No, we don't know where he's going. That's a conundrum in itself at FHO. That phase, it's all official now. I know she confirmed to you at Cadwell Park.
Yep.
But now she told the wider world that they are returning next year. I'm led to understand there's some playing around with budgets and things like that. In terms of what BMW are going to do in the championship, because at the minute they've got 3 BMW teams that have all 3 have strong riders in FHO, Rocket, BMW, and Taz. So it's going to be there's a lot more wrangling to do yet, and it is it is a little bit of a conundrum to where Brooks is going to go. I wondered if he'd go to Dow. There's a spare seat there because one's already been taken up. We're getting plenty of message through to who's coming where. We will try and keep hold of these. There's plenty of questions coming through about Storm and where he's going and Brooksy and Leon.
Yeah.
So we'll keep track of those as we go through because we've got 20 minutes left yet. So we've got 23 minutes left with Kyle. So we've got plenty of time. Brooksy's still got it in him. He's proven that. That goes without saying. As you see with Kyle, with Brad Ray, with Taz. It takes 4 or 5 years to get to grips with a Bennett's British Superbike. And that doesn't come easy. That doesn't come easy. I spoke to Max Cook on Saturday in the rider chat, and he was like, it just looks like I've had a podium and given up. But I haven't. And we've been to 2 tracks where if you try really hard, it doesn't work. You have to relax. It's easy for me to say, sat here from the comfort of Greg Haynes' bedroom. How bad does that sound? Sorry, Greg.
I know.
But from the comfort of here, that's basically the kind of the bottom line. You speak to the riders and say, yeah, you have to let it come to you. You can't force it. If you force it, it will not happen, and you will have such a bad weekend. So you have to learn slowly but surely. And the experience that Brooksy's got, that Hickey's got, that Jason O'Halloran, Glenn, he's been in it since 2018. I think was his first season. Somebody will correct me. It was either 17 or 18. I think it was 18. But it's a tough championship, and they're difficult bikes to ride. They're not easy by any stretch of the imagination. Braden Elliott and the boys will tell you that when they've tried to get on with them for the last year and really had mixed results. It's
on the Josh Brooks thing. So really fortunate that we get to eat in the FHO catering, and he is driven. You mean? I admire at 41 his absolute commitment, and it's a tough sport. You saw that. I mean, that crash, that sequence of pictures he flew. I'm wishing we hadn't seen it, but he flies through the air. You mean, and he lands hard, and to then get back on and come from 21st on the grid to 6 is a testament to his skill level and everything else. So he's still got the hunger, and I think that's the biggest thing, isn't it?
No doubt.
Yeah, and I want to see him. You know what I mean? Every single. So I took my nephew to him from Australia, and he bought the Josh Brooks hat because he saw him, and he's like, "I want Josh Brooks hat." And my stepson's got Josh Brooks hat, so it's like they're proper fans, and that's the appeal that he has, and the look that the whole. I don't know what you call it, just the package, isn't it? It's not just about the rider.
The whole Australianness of him.
Yeah. So we've got a lot. A lot of people asking about Storm, who had another Sterling race.
Absolutely did. Fair play to the boy.
We were talking about him earlier on before we talked about the little incident with Fraser. Where do you think Storm? He's been for 6 years. Is it 6 or 5 years on the Kawasaki?
Oh, you got me on the spot. I think this is 5th, if not, it's 5th or if not 6th season. Did he go up in 19?
Do you think he needs to make that step?
100%. I think from the feeling I get speaking to Storm and speaking to Brent, I think that the relationship generally might have run its course. I think that a change would be good for both. I think Brent would like to keep him if the opportunity arose, but I think for Storm, if you, as Jennifer said, I think we said this on the show last time, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. Something has to change. Something has to alter. So whether if GR Motorsport decide to change manufacturer because the Kawasaki is the oldest bike on the grid, we believe Dow are changing manufacturer. So maybe GR Motorsport would follow suit and go for something effectively, sorry Kawasaki, but something a little more competitive. Whether they go Yamaha or Honda, whichever, you don't expect them to go sort of Ducati because that's really expensive to run. So who knows? There's a lot of variables to go yet, that's for sure. But whether Storm can get that, I don't know whether he goes somewhere like Hawk or something like that. Would that benefit him on the Honda? Would he get into a top tier team like Honda Racing UK if Andrew steps aside? It's unlikely. Would he go to Taz? I don't know. Maybe we'll see Davey and Rory on the Superbikes together next season. We don't know for sure. This is just me surmising. It's knowing where he can go on what's a competitive ride. I'd love to see him on an R6, on an R1. Sorry, I'd love to see him on an R1 to see what he can do on that. He's got a very similar stature to Brad Ray, maybe a little bit taller, but you look what Brad did on the R1. The same with Danny Buchan. I think they could go really well on Yamahas. But the Honda's getting more and more competitive as time goes by. Maybe Andrew's not quite helped this year. He's had struggled with injury, he's struggled with confidence, which hasn't been difficult, which hasn't been easy. Sorry, he didn't score a point at Cadwell, as we know, sadly, so, because of his crash coming down to Mansfield. So it's been a tough season for him. So when we spoke to Tommy back at Knock Hill, he wanted someone competitive as a teammate. He's not scared of competition. He's had Glenn Irwin, one of the most competitive riders in the whole championship, as a teammate, and he's beaten him. So he knows he's got the measure of almost everybody on that grid, and he loves that competition. He loves that the thrill of being pushed by a teammate.
It's interesting because I asked Storm at Cadwell Park. I said, if you could jump on a bike, what bike? And he said the R1, the Yamaha. He said he's followed it. He's seen Kyle and Ryan, what they do. He says it would suit my riding style. So you've absolutely nailed that there, Dave. But that's what we expect from you.
Thanks, mate.
So we talked about, there was a massive shakeup like last year with all the rookies coming in. They've all settled in their second year now. I think there's going to be quite a lot of changes again next year. There's a possibility of a two-rider team. You've got the benefit, as Dow have found out, having two riders, be able to look at each other's data and work on things and figure stuff out. So do you think that, you've got Rocket BMW, you've got McCams maybe going into two bikes, and that would definitely shake it up, wouldn't we, in terms of rider movement, who's going where?
Massively it would shake it up. Whether Tim Martin, Ash Edwards, Preston Ducati, good evening. Ducati Preston, I apologise, getting overexcited seeing your name pop up. Mate, it's so difficult to know, because do Martrain want to put out a second bike and the expense that goes with it? It's like Wilf Moore's managed to put one Superbike out and one Supersport bike out for the last God knows how many years quite successfully without stepping up to being a two-rider team in the Superbike class. Whether PBM would go two riders, again, it's the expense with a Ducati. But with a Yamaha, it's not quite as expensive as that. But do they want to put that kind of money in anyway? They've invested in Danny Kent for a second year. They've shown faith in him. We all believe in Danny. He got a podium at the weekend. He's still learning the British Superbike tracks and learning a British Superbike. He grew up on the continent. So he's, Cadwell this year, I think, was the first time he'd been there since the Stock 1000 2 years ago.
Yeah, because he didn't make the...
That's right. Yeah, the team had folded by the time they got there last year. So he's 2 years out from Cadwell. And Alton Park is always tricky. When you go to Donington, you go to Brands, he's going to be absolutely fine because they're wider, sweeping GP-style circuits. But I think for Danny to be fifth in the championship is a decent shout for him. He's done bloody well. But to bring in another Yamaha, that's a lot of expense plus the wages. It's the kind of thing that Storm would like to consider, I'm sure, if that's why he said it. And it depends on what other teams maybe would switch to Yamaha. So yeah, there's a fascinating conundrum right across. I think Max will stay where he is in terms of the rookies.
Yep.
I don't see him moving anywhere because Nigel Snook and Darren Fry have been an integral part of his career for many a year. Charlie at Hawk, I think he may end up with another year at Hawk. I think there's still the little edges that need rounding off. That kid's got a huge amount of talent. There is absolutely no doubt. And I don't think another year with the team will do him any harm at all. Because I think he's only 21, 22, the same as Max. Rory back in the championship. I think he'll stay where he is. I don't necessarily think he needs to move. He wants to stay in that BMW ecosphere because you never know what's coming up in World Superbike over the years. Leon, would he run two riders? Will they bring Rocket Money in there to run two riders with him? That's not beyond the realms of possibility.
You probably knew this, but was listening to his interview. He broke his back at Knockhill. He had a knackered shoulder coming into the rounds from a motocross accident. Then he broke his back. That guy is unbelievable. And by the way, thank you, Mick, for the lovely compliments, Mick Tan. No, it's so interesting, isn't it? I mean, you've got Braden Elliott. I can't see a ride for him. Luke Hedger, the Kawasaki's. He's a consistent point scorer. He's, if you look at them last year with the two riders, Liam and JJ, they didn't occasionally scored points. Luke's always in the point score and there or thereabouts. Hickey's obviously been signed for FHO. He's going to be back in the championship. Lee Bob, well, we think he's going to Dow. I'm
just looking through Sam Palmer filling everybody in the comments. So, God love Palmer performance. Sam, good evening, mate. Sam believes that it'll be Brooks and Lee Jackson at Dow. I'm led to believe one of those is correct, certainly. This is an interesting one. Talbot, Ryden, Ray at OMG.
Well,
discuss.
Well, we know that Talbot signed. I think.
Yeah.
So I'd heard a rumor at Thruxton, and I remember saying to you, and you gave me that look. You didn't say anything, and I was like, "Look, I've heard it from sources." And sure enough, they did the big reveal on the 15th. It was quite a good one, actually. On the deck-in of the hospitality at Alton Park. I thought that was pretty cool.
Fogarty Moss Centre. It's like literally, it's like Sam Palmer's been reading my notes. Seriously, he's a well-connected guy. He knows what's going on.
I mean, to have Brad Ray. Okay, so here's another one.
Yeah, go.
Scott Redding to FHO.
Why not?
BMW.
Honestly, why not? That BMW contract is absolutely watertight. Unless they want to pay him a shed load of money to disappear off to another ride, it's cheaper to keep him. So why not let him come back here and develop the BMW alongside the test team around some of the naggeriest, most fantastic tracks in the world? Bring in more people because he brings a fan base with him.
Yeah, man.
2019, as I've said this before, when we were stood out at Hollywood at Donington, it's years since I've actually seen, as a rider go round, people clapping per lap.
Yeah.
The last person, and I'm not comparing the talent in any way, shape, or form, but the last person I remember that happening to was Valentino at Donington. And it's like the people that he brings in, the amount of fans that he has, and it really does spice up the championship because he'll be dead keen to win a second championship without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah. So, and if Brad is coming back, still to be, is yet to be confirmed, as we know. Until then, it's all rumor and conjecture. that's another champion coming back. I think Taran might have already signed for Midori Morawaki again, but things can change. But the one that really that leads on from that, who makes way at OMG if Bradley Ray is coming back to the fold?
I saw in the someone had put down that Vickers is going to Worlds to jump on a Ducati. So
Moto Corsa Ducati, apparently. The ride that at the moment is
Rinaldi's,
Michael Ruben Rinaldi.
So that could be an interesting. Like we talk. Okay, you and me talk a lot, and we were just saying that's a big ballsy move to a team unless you speak fluent Italian or they've got your, like you were saying, your crew chiefs, fluent in your tongue, as it were.
That's been Brad's problem.
Has it?
Yeah, having an Italian crew chief or an Italian data guy, there's so much that at that level, it's so difficult. That's an interesting one from Ash. He said Vickers has tried, but he's heard he's got the knockback for Ducati, and Ash is well connected within the Ducati family through Ducati Preston and the Ducati Manchester group. So it's interesting. I still think that Ryan will depart. I still think that he will leave OMG. Whether Brad Ray takes his place or not, we'll find out that in due course. But I think he will leave OMG Racing, and if he does go to Motocorsa, then good luck to him. That the joys of having some incredible backing financially from the Attis group. The kid's talented, the kid's fast. And nobody doubts that at all. And I think it'll be something that could be quite a shock to the system. Could he do some good with the right people around him, with the right staff in the garage? Yes, he probably could. Will he get on with a Ducati V4? Who knows? Will he get on with World Superbike electronics? That's your question. That
is the thing, isn't it? It's very exciting. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because every championship at the moment we thought it was all cut and dried. MotoGP, it just blew itself wide open at the last round. World Supers, bless him, Top Rack, man, that was a horrible. I can't watch that crash. I mean, and then is he going to be back for Cremona? You mean, but Bautista smashing himself up. Do you mean injuring himself? So does that mean that the young pretender steps up?
Buliger. Nico Buliger is one of the most talented riders in World Superbike. Make no mistake. And he's had some bum steers over the years. He's had family problems away from the circuit. He was the next Valentino Rossi. And it's no shock that he is where he is. He's not there by luck, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. So Ash Edwards said he would fit the Ducati. So what about Sam? So Sam Lowes has ridden at the top level. Sorry, yes. And he's jumped onto the Ducati. And he's having okay results, but he's not like ripping up trees, is he? Do you mean?
The single difference there is he's moved from 12 years on Dunlop rubber to his first year on Pirellis. Okay. Going the other way, Ryan spent the last 5 years on Pirellis and moving to Pirellis.
Okay.
That's been the biggest single thing Sam's had to get used to in terms of the bike. There's a few things of how he rides it and things like that. But the main thing, as he said in the show we did with him back at World Superbike, understanding tire drop off, understanding edge grip. And as we see, I mean, Buliger's bike doesn't have much of an issue with edge grip, but they can use the SCX.
Yeah, that's the tire issue, isn't it?
Yeah, they can use the X, which helps them with edge grip, whereas it's the 0 for BSB riders. But yeah, it's a fascinating thing. Let's see. I mean, if Ryan does go there, good luck to him. We'll all support him out there, and I hope he gets some of the great results he wants.
Okay, so we've talked about winners. Well, we haven't really
maybe just talked about the weekend loser as well. Just unfortunately,
okay. Yeah. Okay, let's say that. So I'm gonna go first on this one. I have to say, my winner for the weekend was Tommy. I just think, yes, he made a mistake. How he came back from that shows the measure of the man, the team, the stress. I mean, we've ridden bikes to ride in the wet. It just and those conditions as well. So for me, and to lose the lead in the championship, then take it back. He's 6 points, is he ahead?
6, yeah.
It's only 6, but it's still 6. It's that thing. So I'm going to go for Tommy. Who's you going to go for?
Well, I'm going to shock everybody. Kyle. Purely because he came into the round 19 points back. He's left it 6 points back. With 3 finishes, 2 wins at a circuit he's never raced at before. Kind of didn't do so well in race 2 in the rain, but you know, he picked up 3 again valuable points, and he's closed that gap. It could have been completely different. I mean, imagine if he'd finished in the top 4 in race 2, that he would be leading the championship. Ifs and buts and pots and pans, and if my dad's mother's brother was my uncle, she'd be my auntie, kind of thing. So that's the thing for me, for Kyle Ryde, winning at a circuit he's never won at, and closing the deficit by 15 points.
And the scary thing is, he owns Donington.
15 points? Not 15 points. I don't know. My maths is shit. Whatever points he's closed it by anyway.
Yeah, hang on. I'd have to go back. You're better at maths than me. I can't add that up.
Whatever 19 minus 6 is 13.
Yeah, I mean, your loser, obviously, we've talked about, you know, in depth. Mine has to be, and I hate to say this, is Christian Iden. I just think this was his round to, after 3 podiums earlier on in the season, he was in a really good standing to just bring himself back in. And those 2 crashes just didn't do him any favours, which I'm gutted for. Jermaine, it takes him out. We'd love to have gone to a 4-way. Yeah, he's 89 points. Is that?
Yeah.
You think so? Yeah, because it's
no, yeah, he's 89. The Christian's 89 back on Tommy and 44 back on Glenn. So yeah, he needs more than snookers.
Yeah, he needs to hope everybody else gives up.
It's a slight in-joke, but I will explain it. Look at Tomo's comment. Ride for champ. Could have been Hector too if he was riding. Tomo looked after Hector Barbara when he came across, and he rode for the Bournemouth Kawasaki, JG Speedfit Kawasaki team. I think, I don't know if Tomo still has the emotional scars from that, but he does have a championship with Leon Haslam just to temper that a little bit. Just incredible. Blimey. Loser for me, it's difficult to use the word loser because it really shouldn't be. But after topping FP1 and FP2 and then crashing out of all 3 races, it pains me. It pains me to say it. Charlie Nesbitt started the weekend with so much promise after the Honda test there the week before, and then to come away with no points, desperately sad situation. So I'd rather not use the word loser, but I know we do, but we use it in a light-hearted term. It's not a derogatory term in any way, shape, or form. But to finish first you got to finish.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's
thanks, Mick.
The challenge is being thrown down by 2 of the top riders. It's going to be really interesting to see who picks up that mantle at Donington. I just hope the weather plays ball. It's going to be fascinating, isn't it? I mean, it's
going to be cold.
No, it's going to be lovely. Well, last year was roasting, wasn't it?
That was glorious. Some beautiful sunrises. It's a beautiful time of year. You've got that crackle in the air, and the end of the season's coming. And I think, I mean, Glenn believes he's still in a championship shout. Kind of is. He certainly didn't do himself any harm with that win, and taking 22 points back on Tommy. But then Tommy took 14 points back off him again. So swings and roundabouts completely. Swings and roundabouts. But I genuinely think it's kind of between Tommy and Kyle. Mm-hmm. Has Kyle got a wingman in the fight? You'd like to hope so, regardless of what his future lays, that he would ride for his teammate. Whether Tommy can get Andrew up there at Donington, where the Hondas traditionally go well, that would be interesting to see. Christian's got a point to prove. Danny Kent will go quicker at the more flowing tracks and the ones that he knows. Let's
Right.
see. Yes,
You
Phil,
ju-
we have.
you just said something there. Will Kyle's wingman ride for him? Absolutely not. Did you see the move he put on him in one of the races? I can't remember which one it was now. I'm sure that. Yes, see, you know now. When he took him with like a couple, and I'm thinking, sit behind him. You're not in the championship. And that was like, nope, I've got bigger balls than you. No, mate, that was at Lodge. He took him at Lodge.
Yeah, he did.
And I was just like going, okay, there's no team love lost there.
Speaking of overtakes, you just reminded me of one that I meant to mention. Kyle on Christian Hidden at Cascades. Kyle's not one for throwing the bike up the inside of people. But he did there. And that's just from the little things that you see and the way he's... Ryan uses this a lot. It's my least favorite phrase of all. Like Woody Woodpecker chipping away. But all he's doing is just putting his ducks in a row, making everything right. But Tommy's going to come out swinging at Donington. Glenn's going to come out swinging at Donington. Christian's got a point to prove. Danny Kent. All of that top 10. It's Leon Haslam's home round if he can get his bike to stop in the way that he wants to. It is crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Phil, we did talk about Storm. We reckon he's going to be on a Yamaha possibly next year. It all depends if there's other bikes on the grid.
And how good his ride was yesterday in those conditions. Fair play to the kid. Absolutely brilliant.
Absolutely.
He's actually due up to the village at some point this week. We're going to do a podcast with him sometime soon. But I have to buy him breakfast at the local cafe. So he knows it well. He had a relationship up this neck of the woods not so long ago, so he knows the area, and we've had breakfast in the cafe before. So if he comes up, we'll be sat in the kitchen. He'll take Greg Haynes' place at the kitchen table, and we'll do a chat there with him. So we haven't forgotten.
That would be cool. Second ride of the day, possibly ride of the day, Joe Talbot, super stock. He locked up the front going into Lodge, ran off the track, came back at 24th.
What a ride.
Unbelievable, man. That ride there showed why he needs and is going to be in Bennett's British Superbike next year as a rookie.
No question. No question at all. That boy has got a huge amount of talent. You'll hear more about him on Wednesday in the chat with Kyle. He's super, super talented. I had a long chat with him on Friday. He was down by scrutineering, and we were just chatting about general things. And I know, I mean, I remember his battles with Jack Nixon in Stock 6, and he lost the title by the narrowest of margins. He's solid rider. Once he puts that helmet on and the visor comes down, it's like, yeah, no, I'm not even going to tackle you, kid. But he's so well spoken, so mild mannered off the bike. And we were chatting about things of like post-race interviews and how you sort of are in the paddock, because he does wear his heart on the sleeve, and he admits he's got a resting bitch face. So we just had a chat about a couple of things, and I ended up saying to him, like, people will forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. So whenever you get the chance, sign every autograph, take every photo, doesn't matter what you're doing, just smile and wave, because it's 30 seconds to you, but that kid will remember it for an awful long time.
It's interesting that, because obviously we do a lot with JR Performance and Big Joe.
Yeah,
I interviewed
absolutely
Finley Arscott and Crosby Harrison. You know what I mean? And they're lovely up and coming kids.
Sure.
But Joe doesn't come up. And that's, if, like you said, we all pay our money to go. I mean, I want to know the guy. You mean, it's like, that's why I do what I do. So it's like, just like you do. And I love how you manage to get stuff out of them. Like, that's why we all listen to your podcast, Dave, and
Thanks,
you're great at it. But he just needs to maybe do a little bit more. I mean, it's hard.
I believe there is a podcast due out in the not too distant future with Joe Talbot, but it ain't mine.
Okay.
Move on.
So you've done some fantastic. You've done Wardy. I've got that one to listen to. I'm looking forward to listening to that. Apologies, I haven't.
It's okay.
What else? So who have you got coming out this week?
Kyle this week. He'll be out Wednesday morning, that's for sure. And this I got an email at Brands on the Friday saying, "Ciao, Dave. If you have the time at 12:45 Italian time on Thursday, you can have 20 minutes with Fabio Di Gianantonio."
Oh.
So we're going to do our first remote chat for the show. Hopefully that will go well. I need to learn how to use Riverside FM between now and then. And we'll bring that to you probably Thursday night. The week after, I suspect, is that we did a question thing. We'd kind of lost out a little bit with waiting for half. So if Storm comes up, then it'll be Storm next a week on Wednesday. But we've got Fraser Rogers and Franco Bourne lined up for Donington, and I'm pushing hard for Josh Brooks as well. So we'll hopefully have three. Go ahead.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
Thank you, Dave. Franco Bourne, what happened to him at the weekend? Because I didn't.
Still struggling with his scaphoid. He's still struggling with his hand injury. Dave Hewson was on commentary with Duncan Vincent and was absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Obsession Engineering's Dave Hewson alongside Duncan Vincent was absolutely superb. And it was just so good listening to him. His technical knowledge and Duncan's effervescent commentary was absolutely superb. As far as Franco goes, they started the weekend off just steady, but as he got faster and faster and faster, the pain got more and more intense. So the team are brilliant. They will just hook him if it's not right. Simple as that. And it's absolutely the right thing to do. Yeah, McGuinness on the Stocker. Ash Edwards, have we discussed Lewis Rollo? No. There's a winner from the weekend.
Being a fellow Scot, I should be like waving that Scottish flag. What a race. But then also his get off. We were watching it and my stepson went, "Did he just jump off the bike?" And I went, "Yep."
Yeah, he had no choice.
Wow.
Yeah, to get fifth the rain's a great leveler, but you've got to ride it. And for him to hit fifth, it's very reminiscent of Franco Bourne's ride at Donington last year on the Pathway bike when he got sixth when it rained. So that's kind of cool to see. He's such a good kid. I've got a lot of time for Lewis. Difficult to have on the podcast because he talks dead slow and he's very deliberate about what he says, and he knows that. I could turn it up to 1.5. It'd be great on the show. Absolute class. Funny kid, and brilliant for Ian Newton and Senkat and everybody involved in that team. That was brilliant to see. Unfortunate for race 3 on the breaks into Knickerbrook, but thanks Ash. I'd forgotten to mention him. So absolute class.
I mean, there was quite a few. McGuinness 11th. Then we had. For me, I'm a massive Lee Johnson fan. Jermaine, and it's great to see him up there. I think he got 11th or 12th or something in the Super Sport race. It's just coming back, and this is why I love this sport, Dave. This is why we love it. It's the comebacks, the adversity, the skill, everything that we go through in life is just condensed on a motorbike, isn't it? And it just shows the strength. I mean, you saw when Rory crashed, when he got up, I was wincing for him. When Fraser Rogers went down, he's still hobbling from his 2 broken legs.
Neither of them can walk particularly well.
No.
Still.
It's like, it's another level, man. Another level.
It's crazy. I just saw something that Sam Palmer had said. Had a big involvement in the Pathway thing for this year, and to be honest, it didn't turn out how it was meant to be in the end with only 3 bikes. No, I'm absolutely sure that wasn't the case. I mean, you would have expected at least half a dozen, maybe 8 bikes to go down the Pathway route, but it kind of just thinks it just for whatever reason it hasn't worked at this point anyway.
No, have any of the so Lewis is the only Pathway bike that's been on the podium, and that was at the wet race behind Storm at Snetterton. Have we had any? Billy got 3rd at Thruxton, but he's not on a Pathway bike.
No, he's on a full fat Superbike. Yeah, there's only Richard Kerr and Lewis Rollo. Richard Kerr took Alex Olson's place this weekend.
Is Alex okay? Is he? In a big
Yeah,
off?
I think the team are party company, so I don't know what's gone on there. And Jamie Van Sicklerus was on the other one, and he's had operations on his knees.
His knees, yes, because he was saying that
on
knee
his
keeps
knees.
popping
So that's
out
the
during
other
race.
pathway. That's
I know. It's like, what?
It wasn't originally meant to be 6. Yeah, Sam's confirmed that. But yeah, with only 2 pathway bikes in the race, but one of them finishing 5th in the wet, it shows what they can do. They're not shabby, especially that Aprilia.
Oof. Yeah. Oof. I think Rapid was supposed to be one of the pathway bikes, but they decided to go full BSB spec. So
yes,
yeah. And so did Billy's team. But yeah, that's where they are.
Entertaining times, mate.
So
look at this. You normally only do an hour, and you've done an hour and 10. Good man. You're getting used to this.
I'm not on duty. I'm like, yes, I've just done my week of duties. That's why I was having a Guinness. Sorry, folks.
Oh, good man. Oh no, my glass remains empty. I forgot to top it up. So I am juice free.
So what are we expecting from Donington then? Let's get everybody hyped and ready to go.
Donington has the potential to be the round of the season.
Yep.
It absolutely does. So much hinges on that meeting before we go into Brands Hatch. Yes, the points ramp up again and things change, so that changes the dynamic for Brands. But we're back to being, is it 25, 22, and 20 for the podium? So there's only an extra point in it. It sounds good, but it only matters on DNFs. If you got the consistency, it's an extra point here and there from the 18, 16, 14 that we've had up to Cadwell. So it's there's a lot to go for it. It was like Christian said on his show when he was talking about it. It's like, yeah, there are 105 points up for grabs, but only if the rest don't finish.
Yeah,
you know, it looks fantastic. It's like, yeah, there's 105 points. Let's have it, but it's 15 really, isn't it? 30, totally. Is it 35, 30, and 28, something like that.
The prime example was race 2 at Brands last year when Tommy did what he needed to do, and he knew all he had to do in the last race was just finish behind Glenn. And that, like you said, what happens at Donington will determine how they ride at Brands. Is it going to be balls out? Brands anyway, or is it conservative, just making sure that they do what they need to do? So it's going to be fascinating. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, I don't think there's as much pressure at Donington as there will be at Brands. So I still think the racing will be relatively free flowing, and everybody seems to ride so much tighter at Brands because there is so much at stake.
Yeah.
It's so difficult to ride relaxed when you've got a championship on the line over the next 3 races. And I'm still not a fan of that FP3 straight into Q1, straight into Q2, because anybody who makes a mistake in FP3, like that could affect the championship massively.
Yeah. Oh man. Sorry, stepdaughter's just coming.
That's all right. No problem. That's all right. Good evening.
So it's going to be really. So we're going to have to get you up on stage. Are you going to be there at Donington with us?
Yes, mate. We'll be there all weekend. Yeah, cool. Absolutely.
We'll have to get up. So
sure.
Lovely audience. Thank you. Throw some questions at us. If you know this is going to be the proper silly season, we're on stage. Pop around to the fan merch area. I'll put it up on the board when Dave's going to be joining us. You know, get in the audience, and don't forget, Dave. If people ask us questions,
we'll do our best to answer them. Absolutely. If not, we'll just make shit up.
Yeah. As I did last year.
I haven't got where I am by not making shit up. There's still some questions coming through. Luke Mossy, brilliant ride over the weekend. You're absolutely right, Mike. And I saw Luke's name pop up earlier on. I did see that, and I forget who it was to give somebody a name check. No, I can't get back far enough to see it. So I do apologise. Somebody else had mentioned Luke Mossy, but brilliant for him. He looks happy. He's just that boy just needs to be happy to ride, and he is very happy, and he is riding exceptionally well.
Yeah, and he's jumped on that Paget's bike. I tell you, I love the colours. We do something. I just love the colours, and we do this stuff in the fan merch tent. Talking about someone just put there, it's Woody 167. The 600 man. So you've got Jack and Luke on the same number of points. Ben is still in it with 16. It's a 3-horse race, but man, it's like every single championship is like going down to the wire. This is so cool.
The only one that isn't is Owen Jenner on the GP2 because he's already been crowned champion.
Yeah,
I think there's only 2 bikes. I think there's only one after poor Luca Allen crashed at the weekend. Which get well soon, Luca, if you're watching or if anybody else is watching, who knows him. That was a big one. Made us walk the other way around the track because they were still looking after him on the track. But thankfully, he was airlifted to Stoke, and he came back to the circuit later on. What they thought was broken wasn't. He got all the checks, and he's very second hand, but he's doing all right. Which after that is a pleasure to see. He's a good kid. I like Luca.
Yeah. So
last wild card for Tim Neve at Donington Park, courtesy of our great friend Steve Paul. So that'd be interesting to see Tim going around there. So he's going to take some points off people, isn't he?
Yes, he is. So again, we talked about this, the Superstock. You know, someone said there's Davy T to BSB. I will put a subsidizable 10 pence. That Davy
a whole
Todd,
10 pence?
A whole 10 pence, because I'm Scottish after all, that Davy Todd
You've got such deep pockets. You're never going to reach that. 10 pence, my backside. Sorry, go on.
Okay, 5 pence.
That's better.
Yeah. He will definitely be in the team. I think we maybe mentioned it, we maybe didn't, but he's gelled with Cheshire Mouldings. He's part of that family. They owe him, maybe. So we'll see.
He's done well running the senior TT and the Superstock TT, and he's in the hunt for the Superstock Championship again to make it a double if he can win it. So yeah, I'd like to see him rewarded with a Superbike seat. Why not stay where he is? Do it alongside Rory. They've got the technical ability to do it. They've got the technical ability for the roads. And if they get a bit more help from BMW, there's all sorts of new seats and new seat units, as Top Rack has shown. If the team can get those and they work well, who knows what's to come with those two. And the same at FHO. You mentioned Leon earlier. Man, that kid's a warrior. Absolute warrior. How long can he go for? I think the same with Sam. You know, you can only take so many injuries to your bodies, and the older you get, the longer they take to heal. Even Ron said on the show, oh, that's good news. Sorry, Steve Paul just passed it. The Aces are up. Excellent. The Bellevue Aces are at Sheffield Tigers Speedway tonight. Missed out on that because I'm quite happy sat in front of your happy smiling face. So I'll catch up with that later. Where was I? He's just completely thrown me with the Bellevue Aces now. I do enjoy going down.
So you were talking about Toddy.
And Taz. Yeah, exactly. So I think he will. I would like to see him stay where he is. I don't know whether going to the FHO team would benefit him in any particular way if the BMW budget goes either way. But again, as we said about injured riders and how long Sam and Leon have got left. Leon's into his 40s. Is he 42 this year or 43? One of the two. Even Ron said on the show he thinks Leon's only got a couple of seasons left. And you've got to imagine that as soon as you get to early 40s, you've got to be kind of thinking what else is out there other than burning fossils and making loud noises.
Yeah. I mean, we're both the same age, and I think the older you get,
I'll wait for the comments on that one, Sunshine.
These guys have got some proper injuries, aren't they?
They have, yeah. And you've got to think about later life, haven't you? It's not about the now, it's about the later.
Yeah. But it's been his whole life, hasn't it? I remember, like I said, on one of the podcasts, one of the shows we did was sitting up at like 4:00 in the morning to watch him crash. No, it was Chris Walker crashed at Japan on the first corner of his NSR 500, and Leon finished like 16th or 17th. They were teammates at the time. He was 17, and I was like in awe. And when I interviewed him at Donington this year, I was in awe. It's like nothing has changed. Like just the respect and admiration we have for these riders, or I have for them, it's just another level, man.
Shell Advance Honda. Leon was on the V-twin.
Yeah, man. I remember that one.
Those were the days. 2001.
Was it?
It would have been. Yeah, because Chris went straight up after 2000.
Yes.
So 2001 it would be.
Man,
and Mia, 23 years ago.
23, man. Oh, my boys weren't even born. Anyway, I'm going to have to call it. thank you very much for a fantastic evening, Dave. I'm really looking
Pleasure.
forward to Donington. Thank you for the great questions from your amazing audience. And,
the live show is ours, mate. They're our audience. They're your audience as well, you know.
Thank you for engaging with me, guys. I really enjoy this. It's been a journey. Something I've never done. I'm still nervous. I still get sweaty. Like you're like a pro. I'm like,
you're doing brilliant, mate. That's why we keep having you back, and nobody's complained about you. So
thank you very much.
Everything's brilliant, mate. You're an absolute pleasure to have on the show. I love doing these live shows with you. And the ladies and gentlemen, they wouldn't have asked us to do them after every race if they didn't think that we were up for it. So it's kind of cool, mate. I'm really enjoying it.
Thanks, guys. Love you, boys.
No worries, man. We'll see
girls.
you. No worries, man. We'll see you at Donington. Oh, thank God he's gone. No, I'm kidding. No, he's a good guy, and thank you to you guys and girls for backing Kyle as well. He is nervous when he does it, but he's learning fast. He's doing such a good job with everything that's going on. So, yeah, Craig, you're absolutely right. We've had a couple of losses this week. Very, very sad for Nori Haga's son and for Luca Salvadori as well. But you're right. Mike Anderson, our great friend from north of the border, had sent us the Facebook post that the team in the championship that Luke is riding in have withdrawn from the final 2 rounds to ensure that he becomes the 1000cc champion, which is just incredible. What a gesture. I can't imagine any team ever in the history of motorcycle racing ever doing that. I'm sure that's a first. But that's incredible. And yeah, we send love to the families of both boys. Difficult times. Simon, thank you, mate. That's kind of you. We had a good chat with Davey on the Belstaff stand on Saturday at midday. Such good fun to do. I kind of like these rider chats, whether they're on the stage or whether they're on the podcast, whichever. Here's a question for you. This is something that we're kind of mulling over a little bit, and we done about cost and things like that. We're kind of thinking of doing off-track live and maybe doing live podcasts in little auditoriums around the country and that kind of thing. We wonder if that would be viable. I wonder if that would be something that people would be interested in. But it's a long way off yet. It was just something that was mulled over at the weekend to see if it was a possibility. And why not? We've got to keep taking this brand forward. And we've got such a great foundation with you fine people. And the amount of shows that we get and the viewers we get. If we did a show near you, would you come and watch it live if we brought a racer with us? Okay. Yeah, all right. So that's unanimous in the first 5 comments. Thank you, all of you. That's cool. Yeah, Ash, that's a great shout to do it at Ducati Preston and do it as you did with 44 Teeth because we weren't big enough. Then yeah, absolutely, we can do that. We'll come and use your place, mate, with absolute pleasure, and get some of your fine customers in. Get a Ducati rider down, and I think that would be superb. Any place that's got kind of anywhere between 150 and 300 people. Tomo, thanks, mate. You can come as a guest if you want. Yeah, thank you, Maggie. Brilliant. So yeah, that kind of thing, Woody. I'm not shaky, but I'm shaky's as big a draw as Tommy Bridewell is. But somebody kind of mentioned it to us that's married to one of the Superbike riders, and said, you need to do off-track live. You need to start doing something like that. And I think if the opportunity comes, they can't afford me. At this point in time, mate, no, we can't. They can't afford me, let alone afford you. You can come along and watch then, and we'll sit and have a beer after. But go to the Isle of Man and do something. Go to Scotland, similar as we did with Simo a few weeks ago on his book launch. They are such good fun to do. They're quite nerve-wracking, but having the interaction of the audience there, and the riders then, or no, I can't sing or play the guitar, Phil. No, I can't be doing any busking. That's not happening. But yeah, to have that more personal insight into the rider and the stories that they don't tell on the shows, and questions from the audience and things like that. No, I'm not dancing, Adrian. You haven't seen my dancing. No, Jennifer will explain my dancing. It's just not a thing. It really isn't. And that there isn't enough beer in the world that can. Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. There's enough beer in the world to get me to dance. I do sometimes. Jennifer has seen it and witnessed it and bears the scars. But no, it's just something we're thinking about, just in a spitballing way. So if there's an opportunity through the winter that we can maybe have a little crack at it and maybe do a test and see what we can do. We've got lots of plans through the winter, as Sam's just said. Book a ferry over and get to do one with JR65. We'd love to do that. We're also going to go on the national tour again, the small national tour, to get some podcasts in. So if you know of anybody who wants to come on the show, if you can think of some of the older riders that want to come on, we've got some great chats down south. I'm not going to tell you who with at the minute, but we confirmed one over the weekend. We've got a couple of riders, a couple of mechanics from MotoGP coming on at the end of the season. Maggie Day, funny you say that. I messaged Linny congratulations today, and the next message he gets will be me going over to Knaresborough to sit and have a chat with him. Now he's become a world champion, and see what we can do with him. But I didn't think it right to go, yay, congratulations, when you're coming on the show. I will message him in a couple of days when things have settled down and see if we can nip over and do a chat with him, because we're overdue. We haven't done one since everything went south at Brands Hatch at the end of the year. So if he wants to come on, you know what Linny's like. He's quite a private guy, but he's good fun when you get him talking. It's not his favorite thing to do podcasts, but he's absolute value for money when he comes on. Adrian Stalker, oh my God, that's it's kind of the holy grail. Stalker's the holy grail, along with Michael Dunlop. And yeah, Chris won't do it. Alan Carter's on the list. Absolutely. He would be a great one. Saw Alan at Cadwell. And I need to line something up with him as well. That'd be a good couple of hour chat. I know he's been on other podcasts before, but maybe you haven't seen them. And it's always a different dynamic from what other podcasts do to how we do it. We all do things different, and we all have our different ways of chatting to our guests. So it brings the best for everybody. That's always the coolest thing. We can bring the best out of guests in different ways, and you find, ladies and gentlemen, get the benefit to that. So that's interesting. I'll feed that back to the powers that be and see if we can make a few inroads into that. That's a good thing. What are you guys looking forward to about Donington Park? Who's going to make it? Who's going to be the champion this year? Is it between 3 riders or is it between 2? It's all right me sitting here pontificating about who's going to do what, when, and why. But it's interesting, and we did touch on it earlier on, that some of the comments that you see on BSB forum and some other places, there are some really well informed people on those on those posts on those forums. Sorry, 99% of them don't post; they just sit back and watch with a big box of popcorn. Sometimes I can't help myself, and I'll nip in and I'll put a comment in, purely because there's another one. If anybody could just block and report that one for me, I would be very grateful. All right, Tomo, thank you, mate. Much appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, Tomo has left the building. Thanks, mate. There's all sorts going on, isn't there? It's going to be so good. Yep, Maggie will get a catch up, no problem. The Melbourne wipeout, let's hope that doesn't get repeated this year. You're gonna, if you're a betting man and woman, you would maybe put 10p on that Glenn would rather see Kyle win the championship than Tommy. So that's got an interesting dynamic, and Ryan's going to be doing it for himself, for his future. You would expect if team orders came in that he would follow them, but Glenn, he's got skin in that game. There's no doubt about it. There are so many permutations to go, and I think Danny Kent will be up there without a doubt. I'd love to see Danny Buchan up there and the Dow boys, but it depends on Danny's injuries and how he heals from his skydive at Alton Park over the weekend. I know he's relatively okay, He was moving around, but a couple of days later, it's always going to be a little bit more sore. So hopefully he'll be absolutely grand by the time we get there. But yeah, who's going to be the one that's going to be the title fight spoiler? That's going to be the interesting one. Ash, there's no doubt you're backing Glenn all the way, mate. If he wins it, then he's going to deserve it coming from that far back. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Whether the tracks will lend themselves to it, I don't know. But he's not going to go down without a fight, is he? Not in any way, shape, or form. So there's plenty of chance for Glenn to make up some ground over the weekend. It has been a really, really good year. You're absolutely right, Abel. If Kyle continues this form, it's hard to argue against him. Donington, he only won once there earlier in the year, and then 2 not quite so good results. But I think this year he's from the difference even from May to now means I think barring DNFs, he'll be on the podium in every race, and Tommy will be aware of that. That's absolutely for sure. Vickers will be a spoiler. Yeah, Idden will be a spoiler. He's got to do it. Get Morgie on. He's got some stories. Nick Morgan. Yeah, we have spoken to Nick about coming on, but that'll be part of the Southern England tour in the winter. I think he hasn't got time to do it over a race weekend with all the stories that man has. That'll be an interesting one. So. We'll get Nick Morgan on as well. We'll do a couple of days out in Scotland. We've got ideas for there. We've got ideas for Northern Ireland. We've got ideas for the south of England, and we want to keep you fine people entertained. And we're trying our best. We're doing what we can to keep you entertained. We keep switching it up. We'll do a little bit here and there. And as we said, we've got Fabio, Gian Antonio coming up on Thursday, which is kind of cool. So we're going to do a few more of those. If that's a success, we'll start doing more sort of short remote ones with the MotoGP riders, which would be cool. It's like the BSB boys are great. Some of the old ones, some of the older riders are absolute class. We've still got to get Reg on his own. We spoke to him at the weekend. He's all for that. And Roger Burnett as well. So when things are confirmed with Ryan, whatever he's doing, we'll get Roger on and he can then talk us through how it all happened and the inner workings of how riders move teams, how basically the transfer system works. So that'd be a fascinating insight. And there's nobody better than Roger Burnett to explain all of that. Favorite round this year, Woody? Ooh, we've missed a couple. Simon Green, what about getting Don Herbertson on? He's got his own show. We'll see. Dom's a good lad. We'll see. If he wants to come on, the door's always open for him. That goes without saying. What's your favourite round? But I don't know. This weekend just gone. It's every year, Alton Park September round's my favourite because something always goes on. No, it's no problem, Maggie. Thank you. So yeah, that's always my favourite. It's the one I look forward to the most for the weather, for just everything about it, the feeling. It's just class. That's just how I am. I'm a big softie. I feel the sunsets and the good weather and the good racing and just the crackle of just things start to get. They just start to get a little bit electric, and then Donington and then Brands is just tension and stress for everybody. It's just aggro for the teams, for the riders, for the staff. Actually, while I'm on, there's still 68 of you watching. Thank you very much. A big shout out to Race Direction for making everything happen yesterday, and most importantly, the marshals out on every corner, and the medics and the taxi bikes and everybody, the Heroc Race Safe marshals in orange. We can't go racing without them, and they were all out there in the torrential rain yesterday from 7:30 till 6:30. So if any of you are marshals watching, thank you, and please pass on thanks to all your colleagues from us at Off Track. It's hugely appreciated because without you, we don't get racing. I wouldn't get a word in with having Dom on. No, I wouldn't, Ash, not at all. Let's see whether Don was talking about the show this week. I didn't see the whole show. I don't know. He might have done. I saw him very, very briefly over the weekend. Just say a quick hello to him passing. But yes, it'd be great to sit down with Dom. He's such a great character. What he's going to do next year, who knows? It'd be an interesting thing. He's got the affiliation with OMG Racing. So something might happen through there. Who knows? Who knows? It should be pretty cool. But I think 9:05, I've waffled on for 94 minutes along with Kyle for 75 of those. So a massive thank you to all of you for watching. It's great doing these live shows, and I love the interaction that we get from you that join us. Thank you for spending your Monday nights with us. We'll be back after Donington Park. But before that, we've got Kyle Ride out on Wednesday. We have Fabio Di Gianantonio out on Thursday. If I can get the technical side of things right, please wish me luck and keep your fingers crossed that we get that one done. And then the following Wednesday, if we don't get Storm up, we put a post out on the socials over the weekend asking for questions about BSB. We will be doing that show over the weekend. Brogy, yes, absolutely. Maggie, we'll see you at Donington. Mike Anderson, thank you, mate. Always a pleasure. Woodsky, thank you. Phil, thank you as always for your support. Thanks, mate. The first half an hour was equally as good as the rest. So if you get a chance to catch up, that's brilliant. We're going to do a show with me and Jennifer next week. Jennifer and I, whichever the English way is. So we're going to have a crack at that and see how we get on. Wayne Kim, if you're technical, thank you, mate. Appreciate that. Yep, brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I can't keep up with these messages coming through. We've got a lot coming your way over the next 3 or 4 weeks. We've got BSB ramping up. It's going to be mega. Join us whenever you can. And as always, thanks so much for your support and your love. And take care of yourselves. And we'll join you with Kyle on Wednesday. Thanks a lot, everyone. Good night.